Hi babes, welcome to or welcome back to East Coast Angels. My name is Kendall and I am your Friday upload. So this week's theme is Awareness Week and I literally didn't have anything to film until right now. It is 1 p.m. on Friday. I am uploading this on Friday. I could not think of anything to upload. So mental health is something that is really important to me, and it should be important to everyone. The way you perceive yourself, the way you see your body, the way you see who you are, the way your personality is. Okay, I'm gonna read this verbatim because I can't describe mental health the way I want to. Like, I can't put it into my own words. So I'm just going to read from this medical journal. It's called Medical News Today. And it says, what is mental health? Mental health refers to our cognitive, behavioral, and emotional well-being. It is all about how we think, feel, and behave. The term mental health is sometimes used to mean an absence of a mental disorder. Mental health can affect daily life, relationships, and even physical health. Like I said before, it's how you perceive yourself, it's who you are, it's what your mental being is. So if you don't take care of yourself and you sit there and you tell yourself you're ugly every day and that you hate yourself and that you're fat and that you're a piece of shit and just stuff like that, you're going to have a bad mental health. Also, a thing that we can talk about is mental health days, because in most workplaces they don't offer mental health days, which I think is something we haven't really ever come across until more recently. Most everybody's like, man, mental health versus physical health. Like, mental health isn't a thing. Everybody's happy. It's just who you choose to be. Like, it's not true. It's scientifically proven. Some days you just don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to move. You don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to see anyone. You just want to lay in bed all day. And that's okay. That's just what your day is going to be. It's who you are. So sometimes you do have to take a mental health day. Many occupations don't recognize, which is really sad because they should. But also, with mental health comes mental illnesses, which is such a frowned upon topic, and I don't understand, because I mean, I don't have any mental illnesses, but I know so many people that do, and I don't think that it's okay to shame them and make them feel bad for something that they were born with. People aren't like, I want to have multiple personalities. Like, Nobody is born wanting to have multiple personalities. Nobody is born wanting to have depression. It's not something they want. It's something that happens to them. And we sit here and we tell them that they're just sad. We tell them that they're just angry. That's not anything wrong with them. But reality, it's a chemical imbalance in your brain. Anxiety is real. Having a panic attack is real. It doesn't matter who you are. You can't tell somebody that that they have no right to be doing this. Just because you don't experience anxiety and you don't experience depression doesn't mean that it's not real. And I think that's a lot of the times what happens, where people grow up in a time or in a place where they don't really see anything like that. Like, maybe they don't have anybody in their life, or they've never met anybody that has anxiety and depression or schizophrenia, and they don't see it, so they don't know that it's real. And then they make somebody feel bad for the way they're acting because they have these things. But that's not what we need to do. We need to teach these things in schools, and they don't. No, it's not like I'm filming or anything. That's fine. Just do all your annoying loud-ass things. Yep, that's fine. I feel like I'm rambling on because I didn't do, like, bullet points or anything. I feel like I'm just rambling, but if you kind of like rambly videos, let me know. When I decided that my topic was going to be mental health, I didn't really know what to talk about because there's so many different things to talk about, and I kind of wanted to not make this video 20,000 years long, so I did use Google. It's called nami.org. It's basically a whole entire website about mental health and mental illness, and if you really want to know more, I will link it down in the description box below, because it was really interesting and it has a lot of statistics, and this is what we need to do. Things that we can do to change how we see mental health and mental illness, and what we can do to be more knowledgeable about it and more accepting of it. We can share experiences. If you have an experience with bad or good mental health, or you have a mental disorder, share your experience with someone. Let them know. Personally, if you have one and you're watching this video, let me know down in the comments below, or if you don't feel comfortable, DM me on Twitter. All of my socials will be linked down below. I am so interested in mental health, and I think it is very, very crazy because our brain works in such an amazing way, and there's so many different things that people can have, and I want to understand it all, but obviously I can't. But I just find it so interesting, and I really like talking to my friends about like anxiety and depression and just figuring all those things out and what we think about it. Another thing we can do is learn more about it. I feel like I am very uneducated, even though I did have a chance to learn about mental health and mental illness in high school, but I also did get to learn some in college, and I am more interested in learning more as I go through college. I'm gonna have to take more psychology and sociology classes and stuff to really know more about the brain, and I think that's going to be so interesting. If you don't know, Google it or ask a friend. Millions of Americans are affected by mental health illnesses and mental health conditions, and I think that's not something that many people know. And as a society, we kind of bury that really, really deep down because we don't want to hear about people's problems. We want to believe that the world is all rainbows and gumdrops, and it's not. So if you want to learn more and actually be educated and understand what people are going through, and maybe understand what you're going through yourself, just Google it. Literally, we have the world at our fingertips, and I think that's so great. Another thing you can do is take the stigma-free pledge. I know I sound like I'm in an advertisement or a commercial right now, but I promise I'm not. The website that I was talking about earlier, the NAMI.org, they do have a stigma-free pledge that talks about doing everything you can to break away from the stigma and talk about mental health, and don't make fun of people who have mental illnesses, and just really understand and learn through everyone else's and maybe your own experiences. So literally all you have to do is click the link that I will have down below. I'll put pledge and then the link. And if you want to sign it, you definitely should. It's really interesting, and I did sign it myself. So now I'm going to read some statistics that I found on the same website that I've been talking about because I found them so interesting, and I don't have many facts myself. One interesting fact that I found is that 1 in 5 children ages 13 to 18 will have or currently have a mental illness. And I think that is so crazy because I've grown up in a pretty small town, and I've seen so many people and met so many different people, but I never really thought that many people that I knew have mental illnesses. And I think that's something that is wrong with the world, is we're so naive to everything, and we're so naive to think that the people around us are all happy and there's nothing wrong with them, but in reality there probably is. And not that it's wrong, but there's some sort of imbalance somewhere in there, and you don't really think about that. I read you this statistic that I found, and it's so incredibly sad, and I have been affected by this a lot of times in my life, and it's not fun and it's not fair. But it says suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death in youth ages 10 to 24. And you would think living in a small town you wouldn't really deal with a lot of that, but I have dealt with, I think, 7 suicides in my life, of people that I knew closely, and it is awful. And I think that's another reason we really, really need to look into mental health and not shy away from it and think of it as a taboo topic. We need to talk about it. We need to be open to it. We can't just throw people away because we think they're crazy. If somebody comes to you and they think that they're going to commit suicide, please, if you don't feel comfortable talking to them, give them the number. I will also have that down in the description below. I know so many people that have committed suicide and have had thoughts of suicide, and it's a really, really scary thing. And that, again, is all mental health. And if you don't have a good mental health, then you're going to view yourself poorly, and you're going to think about things like that. And it's not a good thing to do. And I don't think people really want to end their life, per se. They want to end the sadness that they're feeling and the awful gnawing away at their being feeling. And it's just, I think if we talked about it more, there would be a lot less suicide in the world. And I'm sorry that I'm like smiling throughout this video. I'm really awkward on camera, and like my thing is to smile. So I'm sorry if that throws you off. I don't mean to be smiley. I'm trying to be really serious because I take this seriously. It's just who I am. So I'm sorry if that bothers you. Some warning signs of mental disorders, mental illness, mental blocks, some sort of chemical imbalance in your brain. Not eating, throwing up, or using laxatives to lose weight are a warning sign of an eating disorder. It has to do with body image and body dysmorphia. Sudden, overwhelming fear for no reason, sometimes a racing heart, physical discomfort, and fast breathing. That's also a sign of a panic attack. I get them, so I would know. Out of control, risk-taking behaviors that could cause someone physical harm or their life. Tense, crippling fear that gets in the way of everyday activities. And this is a big one with anxiety. Wow, I have the chills. This is the craziest fact I have read so far, and wow, that really sets in. 1/2 of all chronic mental illness begin at the age 14, and 3/4 by the age of 24. That is insane. Prevalence of mental illness by diagnosis. 1 in 100, so 2.4 million American adults live with schizophrenia, and that's just Americans. 2.6, so 6.1 million of American adults live with bipolar disorder. 6.9%, or 16 million Americans live with major depression. 18.1, or 42 million Americans live diagnosed with anxiety disorder. Let that sink in, that 42 million people have anxiety disorder. And we just push that aside like it's nothing. 42 million people, we pretend that there's nothing wrong with them. We ignore the health of 42 million people. So that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys found it interesting and educational. Maybe you learned something, or maybe it just made you feel a little bit better about yourself. If you have any other knowledge, feel free to comment down below, or any websites that contain more knowledge that I gave in this video, please feel free to let me know. I am so interested to learn more about all of this. As I mentioned before, but I'm going to mention again, I will link everything that I talked about in the links down below. I will link the pledge, I will link the NAMI website, I will link the suicide hotline, and any other hotlines I can try and find. If you have a mental illness, mental disorder, or have a mental health anything, let somebody know, talk to somebody. I love you all, and I will see you next Friday with a more lighthearted video if this wasn't your style. Bye, babes.